Buckle up, everyone, because I'm bringing you some more bad news. This is kind of like Daily Dose of Internet, but all the news is just bad. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen the CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, has stepped down. And she's also stepping down from Google, the company that owns YouTube. If you don't know who Susan is, you need to be on YouTube for more than like 7 seconds. But also, she was basically the person that every single creator on the platform would collectively blame when something went wrong. For example, if you saw that your video was underperforming or it got age restricted, you'd clench your fist, look up into the sky and go, "Damn you, Susan!" The thing is with Susan, because she was such a prominent face of the platform, she did kind of become like the proverbial punching bag, especially for the more jaded YouTubers. And I am not saying YouTube is a perfect site. Oh, far from it. There are some massive issues. I'm going to go over, but to blame her for everything, I think it's a bit of a reach. Now, I do want to say, even though it sounds like I'm kind of defending Susan, again, she wasn't perfect. For example, she went onto Ludwig's podcast a couple of months ago, and she said verbatim, she has no idea why YouTube Rewind 2018, the one with Will Smith, Mark S. Brownlee, that one, she has no idea to this day why it was so disliked.
We had no idea that the Rewind video in 2018 was gonna go badly. Like,
wait,
no idea.
The
most disliked video on the internet.
Yeah, you guys got boomed. On that one.
Yeah,
that was tough.
Yeah, we had no idea. We didn't, like, it wasn't like we thought it was gonna go badly. So
like, you watched that and you're like, not bad.
Yeah, I looked and it was like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah. And then it came out and everyone was like, this is terrible. And you're like, oh, that's tough.
I too was shocked about the incredibly brand-friendly video that would never feature any controversial creators being posted everywhere. This is a little side note, but one thing I love about YouTube Rewind, before they canned it, there were always 3 groups of people that would appear on it. Group 1 were the actual, established YouTube juggernauts, people that would get millions of views of video. For example, Casey Neistat back when he was daily vlogging. The second group would be like not even a YouTuber, but a popular meme for that year. Like, for example, Damn Daniel. And then the third group of people were popular like 10 years ago. They fell off like really, really hard. But because they live in LA or they have some kind of business contact, they managed to wriggle their way into every single rewind. Now, I never met Susan myself because I'm not in that top 1% league of good boy YouTubers. But from what I saw, she did seem to genuinely care. One thing that really stood out to me was how she would actually organize meetings with, other YouTubers, other creators to kind of get their opinion. Now, you could argue that even though she sat down with these YouTubers and they gave really good ideas, they were never actually implemented. Okay, you got me there. Walter White, my hands in the air. But she did try. She could have just been one of these CEOs that don't interact with the Muggle population and keep themselves sealed in their ivory tower. And of course, under the reign of Susan, there were some truly terrible additions, like, for example, the demonetization sign, and most recently, probably the worst one, the complete removal of YouTube dislikes, unless you've got an external app. The thing is, I don't need to go into detail about how terrible removing dislikes is, but one prime example I like to go back to is how you could be 3 a.m. in the morning, right? You've got a problem with your laptop, your PC, your MacBook, your iPhone. You start looking up problems. A YouTube video comes up. You watch it, and it'll be someone like writing on a text notepad with some like 2012 music in the background. Now, usually what you do is use the dislike bar to dictate whether the video is legit or they just want to give you a virus. You can't do that anymore. I do want to say, to be a contrarian, I guess removing dislikes, it does bring back some kind of critical thinking. For example, if you click on a video, it's massively disliked, your brain will be more wired to disliking that video yourself. You've got a preconception of it. Without dislikes, that's gone. But at the same time, it's just stupid. There will be inherently controversial, decisive, and just downright dogshit videos that manage to get a better reception because people don't know how to feel about it. To be fair, though, you could completely circumvent that by just installing an extension browser, which is what I did, so now I can see dislikes. Now, Susan stepping down from YouTube is big news because she's been working at the company for 9 years and working at Google for 25 years. So she's been there for a while. She's not one of these CEOs that go through like a revolving door. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Susan law. It's pretty deep. For example, like, she was one of the first people to be employed by Google, going back 25 years, because the 2 original founders, she rented out her garage to them. They could work in her garage and they just paid her a bit. And she managed to talk to them, and get a job. Like, it's insane. If she didn't rent out her garage, we would have a universe without Susan. So the moral of that story is always hold the door open for the person behind you, and maybe even in front of you. You know why? Because they could be a depressed oil billionaire that might write you into their will. Now, obviously, with Susan's departure, there is a Game of Thrones-sized seat available, and that has been taken up by Neil Mohan. Now, this guy isn't a newcomer. He was already the chief product officer for YouTube. If you don't know what that role entails, it essentially means making sure that everything's up to shape, objectives are being fulfilled, usually by telling other people to do it. But then, as what usually happens, some negative news came up. And the negative news came from Twitter. Look, I do this bit like every third video at this point, I know, all right? But it's not going to change. Now, there was a tweet about him that was circulating, and this one has over 100,000 likes. Anything above that, that's kind of in the amber zone. Like, okay, I might actually read more than 3 words of it. Basically, they were trying to point out that he was a huge NFT, crypto, Web3 shill. Now, I do want to be a little contrarian here. You know, NFTs, crypto, they do have their advantages. For example, it's basically the equivalent of legal insider trading for multimillionaires to make even more money. It's great how you can compare them to early kill streaks in the Call of Duty games, where it's just the rich get richer. You get a kill streak, you use that kill streak to get more kills. You get a better kill streak. The thing is, the reason why I like NFT, crypto, apart from a lot of reasons, the main reason why people hate it is because there are so many bad actors in that sphere. People that just don't care about, you know, growing or developing technology. They just want to make money. I have talked about so many examples like this. I show Speed with that metaverse he was paid to promote that he knew nothing about. Well, they had the fake Ronaldo guy. And then when NFTs made a console, that Polyum, that looked like the Ouya console, but 5 years too late. Now, that aside, one thing that Neil has also been doing before taking the role of CEO, he's been leading the charge. He's the brave white knight fighting against the biggest enemy, and that is TikTok. Now, we already know that TikTok generates millions, billions of more views than YouTube, and that terrifies YouTube. I mean, it's not a fair playing field. For example, TikTok, it's, you know, the average video is probably double the length of a Vine, so 12 seconds. And YouTube videos, they're usually at least 8 minutes long, because 8 minutes or longer, you could put mid-rolls in and you make more money. Now that I've said that, go onto Mr. Beast's React channel and you will notice that every single video he uploads is like 8 minutes and 2 seconds. And to be fair as well, on YouTube, there is some, you know, actual production value put into content. And then on TikTok, there is. It's a lot more rare. Most of it is just a Family Guy clip on the top half of the screen, and the second half will just be Subway Surfers. Now, how did they take on the fight with TikTok? They just copied them, straight up copied them, but worse. For example, we have YouTube Shorts now. I think the only time I've used YouTube Shorts is when I was sat on the toilet and I forgot my login to TikTok. Now, Neil has also implemented some other changes. For example, you know, his chief product officer, he's going to bring some products in. For example, YouTube Music, that absolutely no one uses because Spotify exists. One of my favorite additions is YouTube Premium, the fact that you can play videos in the background. I mean, stuff like Firefox could already do that, but now you do it with YouTube, you've got to pay, which kind of sucks, but whatever. He's also on the board for 23andMe. Now, if that rings a bell, it was basically this like genetic program being promoted by a bunch of wholesome chungus vlogging channels a fair few years ago. Essentially, you take a swab of your DNA and you'd be told your heritage, ancestry, all that kind of stuff. People were a little bit skeptical of it because this big company would be hoarding everyone's data, probably for, you know, money-making purposes in the future. But the funny thing is about 23andMe, the CEO of that company is Anna Wojcicki, the sister of Susan Wojcicki. Now, Neil is definitely a big name. I think a couple years ago, Twitter tried to poach him for around $100 million, and he said no to that, and he jumped on the Google train instead. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, if you're against crypto, if you're against NFTs, if you're against the Web3 stuff, which is totally fair, I can totally understand why, then it's not looking good, because I can imagine it's going to be implemented a lot more. I mean, I'll be transparent here. I don't dabble with it much. I mean, I've never bought like an NFT or anything. Jesus Christ. Like Logan Paul has tainted that forever for me. But I own, for example, Ethereum. I bought a fair amount of Ethereum and I'm still holding on to that. Mostly just to make more money and then cash out, like most greedy people are. But yeah, again, as long as it's not too invasive, I guess it won't be too much of a problem. But, you know, Susan, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for introducing the demonetized symbol, YouTube Red. What else we got? I don't know. Removing this. Yeah, it's just. Cheers, Susan. Take care.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.